I came home early that day. And I wished to God I hadn't. Because the moment I stepped into my own house, I heard something that made my entire body freeze. My husband's voice. Low, soft. The kind of voice he hadn't used with me in years. And then another voice answered him. A voice I knew just as well. My son-in-law. Before I continue, take a second to like this video and comment where you're watching from. My hands started shaking so bad I couldn't even hold on to my purse. It slipped right out of my fingers and hit the hardwood floor with a loud thud. Keys, glasses, little peppermints I always carried. Everything scattered across the hallway like pieces of my life breaking apart. And I just stood there, frozen. My name is Evelyn Marie Parker. I'm 62 years old. I've been married for 38 years. And in that moment, standing outside my own bedroom door, I realized I didn't know my life at all. I slowly dropped to my knees, pretending to pick up my things. But really, I was trying to breathe. Trying to understand what I was hearing on the other side of that door. 'Cause deep down, already knew. But my heart wasn't ready to accept it. That morning had started like any other normal day. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. I don't even need an alarm anymore. My body just knows. I went straight to the kitchen and made Raymond his coffee exactly how he likes it. 2 sugars, a splash of cream. In that same blue mug his army buddies gave him when he retired. I kissed his forehead while he was still half asleep. 38 years. And I never missed a morning. I had my whole day planned out. I'd already bought everything for Sunday dinner. Sweet potatoes for my pie, fresh green beans, pork chops. All Raymond's favorites. Nicole and Brandon were supposed to come over after church, and I was excited. That kind of routine, that kind of family time, it meant everything to me. I thought I had a good life. Stable life. Blessed life. I left for Bible study that afternoon around 2 p.m. Raymond's truck was still in the driveway. He told me he was going fishing with his friend Marcus, but I figured maybe he changed his mind and decided to stay home. I didn't question it. Why would I? Bible study ended earlier than usual that day. Around 3:15. Nothing special. Just one of those small changes that don't seem important at the time. But that one small change changed everything. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something strange. Raymond's truck was still there. But there was another vehicle parked a little down the street. Brandon's truck. I remember pausing for a second. Just thinking maybe he stopped by to see Raymond. That wasn't unusual. He did that all the time. Called him Pops. Always asking for advice, always hanging around. I trusted him. I trusted both of them. That was my first mistake. I walked up to the front door and tried the handle. Now that wasn't normal. Raymond never locked the door during the day. Said it made him feel trapped. Something about his time in the war. He never liked feeling closed in. But I still didn't panic. I just took out my key, the one with the little cross Nicole gave me years ago, and went around through the kitchen. The second I stepped inside, I smelled his cologne. Strong. Too strong. Like he had just sprayed it. And underneath that, there was something else in the air. Something off. I can't even explain it properly. It wasn't a smell exactly. It was a feeling. Like the air itself knew something I didn't. I set my purse down on the counter. And that's when I saw it. Brandon's jacket. Folded neatly over one of my kitchen chairs. And I don't know why. But that bothered me. More than it should have. I stood there for a second just staring at it, and then I heard music. Coming from upstairs. Soft, slow, familiar. The kind of music Raymond used to play for me when we were young. The kind of music we used to dance to in the living room after Nicole went to bed. And then, heard laughter. Not normal laughter. Not the kind you share over a joke. Oh, this was different. This was intimate, private. The kind of laughter that doesn't belong in a house where a wife thinks she's safe. I slowly walked toward the stairs. My hand sliding along the banister Raymond had fixed just last year. My legs felt heavy, like something was trying to stop me from going up there. Like my body already knew. If I took another step, my life would never be the same again. I stopped halfway. 'Cause then I heard it. Raymond's voice. Low, careless, confident. Nobody's home till 4, we got time. And then, Brandon. You sure? I don't want Evelyn finding out like this. Like what? Like what? My heart dropped so fast I thought I might pass out right there on the stairs. That's when my purse slipped from my shoulder and hit the floor. And everything went silent. Not upstairs, but inside me. Because in that exact moment, everything I had believed in for 38 years, shattered. Looking back now, I should have seen it. A woman always knows. She knows when her husband stops looking at her the same way. She knows when the space between them in bed starts to feel colder, wider, emptier. She knows when "I love you" starts sounding like a habit instead of the truth. But I ignored it. I told myself I was blessed. I told myself I had a good man, a good daughter, a good life. I told myself a lot of things. Because the truth was too painful to even imagine. I stood there in that hallway for what felt like forever. But it was probably only a few minutes. Just listening. Just breathing. Just breaking. And in those moments, I had a choice. I could run upstairs. Kick that door open. Scream. Cry. Lose control. Or I could do something else. Something smarter. Something colder. I slowly bent down. Picked up my purse. Gathered my things one by one like nothing had happened. And I walked into the kitchen. I made myself a cup of coffee. Sat down at the table. And started thinking. 'Cause one thing about me. I don't fall apart. Plan. I survive. Endure. And in that quiet kitchen, with my whole world collapsing upstairs, I made a decision. I wasn't going to react. I was going to win. I sat there at that kitchen table, holding that cup of coffee like it was the only thing keeping me steady. Upstairs I could still hear them moving around. Footsteps. Quiet laughter, the creak of my bed. My bed. But I didn't move. I didn't cry. Not yet. Because something inside me had already changed. Something cold. Something sharp. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. I started remembering who I used to be. Not just Raymond's wife. Not just Nicole's mother. For me. Evelyn Johnson. Before life softened me. Before love made me comfortable. Before I built my entire world around a man who clearly didn't deserve it. My mama used to say, "Baby girl, never let anybody make a fool out of you twice." And sitting there in that kitchen, I realized something painful. I had already been made a fool once. But not again. Not today. I took a slow sip of my coffee, even though it had already started going cold. And I forced myself to think clearly. No emotions. No panic. Just facts. Raymond wasn't fishing. Brandon wasn't just stopping by. And whatever was happening upstairs, it wasn't new. This had been going on for a while. Which meant one thing. There would be signs, evidence, proof. And I was going to find all of it. I sat there for exactly 7 minutes. I know that because I kept staring at the clock on the wall. Watching every second pass like it was counting down to something bigger. 7 minutes. 420 seconds. That's how long it took for me to go from a wife to a woman with a plan. After that I stood up. Slowly. Quietly. And I walked toward the stairs. Each step felt heavier than the last. But I didn't stop. Not this time. I wasn't going up there to confront them. No. I was going up there to confirm what I already knew. When I reached the top, I didn't go straight to the bedroom door. Instead, I slipped into the guest room across the hall, closed the door gently, and listened. Their voices were clearer now. Muffled but close. Too close. I heard Raymond laugh. The same laugh he used to have when we were younger. The laugh I hadn't heard in years. And that hurt more than anything, because it meant he still had it in him. He just didn't have it for me anymore. I stepped back, forcing myself to breathe slowly. Quietly. This wasn't the moment. This wasn't how I was going to handle this. I turned around and walked into our bedroom. Carefully. Silently. The door was slightly open. Just enough. And I didn't need to see everything. I didn't want to. What I heard, what I already knew. That was enough. I stepped inside just for a few seconds. Quick, precise. My eyes scanned the room. Clothes on the floor. Not mine. A smell in the air that didn't belong to me. And that was all I needed. I backed out immediately. Heart pounding. Stomach turning, but my face? Still calm. Still controlled. Because now it wasn't suspicion anymore. It was truth. Cold, ugly, undeniable truth. I went straight to the closet. Opened Raymond's side. And that's when I found it. That box. Tucked behind his shirts like it meant nothing. I pulled it out. Opened it. And there it was. Watch. Brand new. Expensive. Still with the tag. And a card. To my Raymond. You make me feel alive again. My fingers tightened around that card so hard I thought it might tear. B. Just one letter. But I didn't need more than that. I already knew who B was. Brandon. My daughter's husband. My husband's whatever he had become. I quickly took out my phone and snapped pictures. The watch. The card. Every detail. Then I put everything back exactly the way I found it. Like I had never been there. 'Cause that's how you win. You don't show your hand too early. You wait. You gather. You build your case. I moved to Raymond's nightstand next. Opened the drawer slowly. Papers. Bank statements. Receipts. Nothing organized. Typical. I started flipping through them. Taking pictures of anything that looked off. Withdrawals. Hundreds at a time. Over and over again. This wasn't random. This was a pattern. And patterns tell stories. Ugly ones. I moved to his laptop. Sitting right there on the desk. Unlocked it. Password. My birthday. I almost laughed. 38 years of marriage. And he still used my birthday. While betraying me in the worst way possible. Opened the files. Bank records. Transactions. More withdrawals. More spending. Things he never told me about. And I saved everything. Copied it. Sent it to myself. Made sure I had proof he couldn't erase. And heard footsteps. My heart jumped. Rest. Heavy. I shut the laptop immediately. Moved quickly toward the bathroom. Slipped out into the hallway. And went back downstairs like nothing happened. Like I had just walked in. Like I hadn't just uncovered the truth of my entire life. A minute later, I heard Brandon's voice from upstairs. I should go before she gets home. Raymond laughed softly. Yeah. Same time next week. Next week. Like this was normal. Like this was scheduled. Like I didn't exist. Then Brandon said something that made my skin crawl. I can't wait that long. And Raymond answered. Then come tomorrow. Tomorrow. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. I stood there in the kitchen. Gripping the counter so tight my fingers hurt. But I didn't move. I didn't react. 'Cause now. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. A few minutes later, Brandon came downstairs. He grabbed his jacket. The same one I had been staring at earlier. And walked right past me. Except I wasn't there. I had stepped into the pantry just before he came down. Door slightly open. Watching. Waiting. He didn't see me. Didn't even suspect anything. And that told me everything I needed to know. They thought I was clueless. They thought I was weak. They thought I would never figure it out. And that was their biggest mistake. After Brandon left, Raymond came down like nothing happened. Whistling. Smiling. Acting normal. Like he hadn't just destroyed 38 years of marriage. He walked into the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Started making himself a sandwich. Using my food. In my house. After what he just did. I watched him for a second from the pantry. And something inside me went completely cold. Not my house anymore. Not my marriage. Not my life. Not like this. I waited until he went back upstairs. Probably to shower. To wash away the evidence. And that's when I stepped out. Grabbed my purse. Walked out the front door. Closed it behind me. Then opened it again, louder this time. Raymond, I'm home. Be down in a minute, he called. Like nothing had happened. And I smiled. Because I knew something he didn't. This game he was playing. It was already over. He just didn't realize it yet. That night, I lay in bed right next to my husband. Staring at the ceiling. Listening to him breathe like nothing in the world had changed. Like he hadn't just destroyed me. Raymond was snoring softly, the same way he had for years. That sound used to comfort me. It used to mean he was home. Safe mine. Now, just made my stomach turn. Because I knew where he had been just hours ago. Who he had been with. And suddenly, that man lying next to me felt like a stranger. I didn't sleep. Not even for a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard it again. His voice. Brandon's voice. That laughter. That word. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Like I didn't matter. Like my whole existence could be scheduled around. At around 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't take it anymore. I slowly slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him. But honestly, even if he woke up, I don't think I would have cared. I walked downstairs in complete silence, turned on the kitchen light, and sat at the same table where my life had changed just hours ago. I opened my laptop. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. No guessing. No assumptions. I needed everything. Proof. Money trails. Records. Secrets. Things he thought I'd never find. First thing I did. I opened our joint bank account. The same account we'd shared since the beginning of our marriage. The same account where both our pensions went. The same account I trusted without ever checking too closely. That was my second mistake. I started scrolling. Slow at first. Then faster. Then I stopped. My breath caught in my throat. $500. Withdrawn. Then another 500. Then another. Every single week. Sometimes twice a week. For months. My hands started shaking as I grabbed a pen and paper and started adding it up. 500. 500. 500. It didn't take long before the number hit me. $16,000. Just like that. $16,000 that didn't go to bills. Didn't go to groceries. Didn't go to anything I knew about. I sat back in my chair, staring at that number like it didn't make sense. But it did. Made perfect sense. Fares cost money. Hotels. Secrets. And apparently, my husband had no problem funding all of it with money we built together. Kept scrolling. Now I wasn't just looking. I was hunting. And what I found next, that broke something inside me for good. Restaurant charges. Expensive ones. Places Raymond had never taken me in years. $200. $300. Desserts. All the things he used to do when we were young. When he actually cared. And flowers. $145. I never got those flowers. Not a single one. And hotel charge. My chest tightened. $342. The Ritz. I stared at the screen for a long time after that. Because that wasn't just cheating. That was planning. That was effort. That was choosing someone else over me again. And again. And again. And I had been sitting at home, cooking dinner, waiting for him. Like a fool. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I opened another tab. Started digging deeper. Something inside me told me this wasn't everything. Men like Raymond. They don't just hide one thing. They hide everything. That's when I found something that made my blood run cold. Second account. First, I thought I was reading it wrong. But no. There it was. Joint account. Opened 8 months ago. Owner. Brandon. I couldn't breathe. I actually had to stand up and grab the edge of the table just to stay steady. My husband, and my daughter's husband, had a bank account together. Behind my back. Behind her back. Or maybe, not behind her back. That thought hit me so hard I had to sit back down. Did Nicole know? Oh, no, she couldn't. She wouldn't. Would she? But then my mind started connecting things. Her distance. Her attitude. The way she stopped coming over as much. The way she avoided conversations. And then, that money. $3,000. 3 months ago. She had called me. Stressed. Almost desperate. Mom, I need help. Brandon's business. We're tight this month. I didn't even question it. I sent it the same day. Because that's what mothers do. We give. We trust. We believe. But now I wasn't so sure. What if that money wasn't for her? What if it was for them? Felt sick. Like physically sick. Because this wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was something darker. Something twisted. I forced myself to keep going. I pulled up Raymond's phone records. And there it was. Brandon's number. Over and over again. Calls during the day. Long ones. At times Raymond told me he was busy or out. But the messages. That's what broke me. I couldn't read them. But I could see the count. 300 texts. In 1 month. 300. My husband hadn't texted me that much in years. And now I knew why. Because everything he used to give me, he was giving to someone else. Closed the laptop slowly. My hands were numb. My chest felt heavy. Like something was pressing down on me. I made myself a cup of tea. Even though I couldn't taste anything. And I just sat there in silence. Trying to process it all. 38 years. Whole life. Reduced to lies. Secrets. And transactions. And the worst part. It wasn't even the cheating. It wasn't even the money. It was the disrespect. The way they both thought I'd never find out. The way they moved in my house like I didn't exist. The way they turned my life into their secret. That's what hurt the most. Around 5:30 in the morning, my phone rang. The sound made me jump. I looked at the screen. Then, my best friend. 40 years. If there was one person in this world who knew me, it was her. Answered. Hello. Evelyn, you awake? Her voice sounded off. Like she'd been thinking about something all night. Yeah, I'm up. I need to come over. That made my heart sink. What's wrong? I'll tell you when I get there. Please just let me come. 20 minutes later. She was sitting right across from me at the kitchen table. Same table. Same place my life had fallen apart. She looked nervous. Kept twisting her ring around her finger. Something she only did when she didn't know how to say what she needed to say. Diane, what is it? She looked at me, hesitated, then finally said it. I saw Raymond and Brandon. My chest tightened. Where? Waffle House, about 2 weeks ago. I didn't say anything. Just listened. They were sitting in the back. And Evelyn. He paused. Took a breath. They were holding hands. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Unavoidable. And the way they were looking at each other, she continued softly. That wasn't normal. I closed my eyes for a second. Not because I was shocked, but because now, there was no doubt left. No confusion. No denial. Just truth. Ugly, undeniable truth. I opened my eyes again. Looked straight at her and said calmly, I know. She blinked. What? I know. And for the first time since all of this started, I felt something different. Not pain. Not sadness. Something stronger. Control. 'Cause now, I had everything I needed. And they had no idea. Diane just sat there, staring at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. I know, I said again, calmer this time. She blinked twice. You know. I nodded slowly and reached for my laptop. My hands weren't shaking anymore. That part of me, the part that panicked, the part that broke, that was gone. I turned the screen toward her. $16,000, I said quietly. Gone from our account in 4 months. Her eyes widened as she leaned closer. Click to the next tab. Hotels. Restaurants. Flowers I never got. Another click. 300 texts in 1 month. And then, the last one. The joint account. Her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Evelyn. I didn't react. I just sat there, watching her process it the way I already had. 8 months, I added. That's how long they've had that account. Diane shook her head slowly, like she was trying to wake up from a nightmare. That means this didn't just start. No, I cut in. It didn't. Silence fell between us again. Heavy. Then she looked at me, her voice softer now. What are you gonna do? That question. That simple question. It hung in the air like everything depended on it. 'Cause it did. I leaned back in my chair and folded my hands together. I'm not going to confront them. Her eyebrows shot up. You're not. No. Evelyn, after all this. I said no. My voice wasn't loud, but it was firm enough to stop her. I took a slow breath and looked her straight in the eyes. If I confront them now, they'll lie. They'll deny. They'll destroy whatever evidence I don't already have. Diane nodded slowly. She knew I was right. I'm not giving them that chance, I continued. Not after what they've done. So what then? I leaned forward slightly. I'm going to take everything. She froze. What do you mean, everything? I mean everything that belongs to me. And everything they think they're entitled to. I let that sink in before continuing. They think I'm just some old woman who cooks, cleans, and stays quiet. I shook my head slowly. They forgot who I was before all this. Diane's eyes softened a little. Evelyn Johnson. I gave her a small nod. Exactly. For a moment, I wasn't in that kitchen anymore. I was a little girl again, walking into a school where nobody wanted me. I was that young woman working 2 jobs just to survive. I was that teacher who stood in front of classrooms for 37 years, holding everything together no matter what life threw at me. I didn't break then. And I sure wasn't about to break now. I already called a lawyer, I said. Diane straightened up. You did. Appointments today. 2 o'clock. That fast. I don't waste time. She let out a slow breath. Who? Catherine Brooks. Diane's eyes widened again. Oh, you serious. I almost smiled. I told you. I'm not playing with this. Catherine Brooks wasn't just any lawyer. She was known for one thing. Winning. Messy divorces. Hidden assets. People who thought they could get away with things. She didn't just fight. She finished. You got the money for that? Diane asked carefully. I held her gaze. My sister didn't leave me nothing for decoration. Her expression shifted. Realization. Eleanor. He nodded. She left me everything. Kept it separate. Never touched it. How much? I paused for just a second. Then said it. Almost $500,000 now. Diane leaned back in her chair like the air had been knocked out of her. Evelyn. Raymond doesn't know, I added. He thinks it's way less. A slow smile started forming on Diane's face. Well then, she said softly. He's about to learn something new. I didn't smile back. Because this wasn't funny. This was calculated. I'm going to let them keep thinking I don't know, I said. For how long? She asked. As long as it takes. To do what? To build my case, I answered. To document everything. To make sure when I walk away, I don't lose a single thing that's mine. I stood up and walked over to the sink, rinsing out my cup slowly. They want to play behind my back. Continued. Fine. I'll play in front of their future. Diane let out a quiet laugh under her breath. That's cold, Evelyn. I turned slightly and looked at her. No, I said calmly. What they did, that's cold. What I'm doing, that's survival. She didn't argue after that. 'Cause she knew. She knew me. She knew once I made up my mind. There was no going back. What about Nicole? She asked after a moment. That question, that one hit differently. I looked down at the sink for a second, my hands resting on the edge. My daughter, I said quietly, is either a victim in this. Pause. Or she's part of it. Diane's face tightened. You think she knows? I don't know yet. And that was the truth. The one piece of this puzzle I still couldn't figure out. But I will, I added. Soon. The clock on the wall ticked louder than usual. Time was moving. And for the first time, I felt like I was moving with it. Not behind it. Not lost in it. But ahead. I need to get ready, I said finally. I've got somewhere to be. Diane stood up too. You want me to come with you? I shook my head. No. I need to do this alone. She walked over and hugged me tight. And for a brief second, I let myself feel it. The warmth, the support, the love that was still real in my life. You got this, she whispered. I pulled back, looked her in the eyes, and nodded. I know. 'Cause I did. For the first time in a long time. I really did. At exactly 1:30 p.m., I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom, fixing my hair like I had somewhere normal to be. Like my life wasn't falling apart behind the scenes. Raymond was downstairs watching TV, flipping channels like always, completely relaxed, completely unaware. Where you heading? He called out when I grabbed my purse. Running a few errands, I answered calmly. Might stop by Diane's after. All right, he said, not even looking up. Be safe. Be safe. I almost laughed, because the only thing dangerous in my life right now was him. I walked out of that house like I had done thousands of times before. But this time felt different. This time, I wasn't coming back the same woman. The drive to the lawyer's office was quiet. No music, no distractions, just me and my thoughts. Every memory kept flashing through my mind. 38 years, birthdays, anniversaries, struggles, victories, all of it. And now, all of it felt like a lie. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, I was done feeling sorry for myself. Now it was time to act. The building was clean, professional, quiet, exactly what I needed. I walked in. Heels steady, posture straight, like I had something to protect. 'Cause I did. Good afternoon, the receptionist said with a polite smile. How can I help you? I have a 2 p.m. appointment, I replied. Evelyn Parker. She typed for a second, then nodded. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Brooks will see you shortly. I sat down in the waiting area, hands resting on my purse, eyes scanning the room. There were other people there, couples, individuals, all with the same look in their eyes. Stress, uncertainty, pain. But me. I didn't feel any of that anymore. Felt focused. 5 minutes later. Mrs. Parker. I stood up. And that's when I saw her. Catherine Brooks. Sharp suit. Confident posture. Eyes that looked like they missed nothing. She extended her hand. Come on in. Her office was simple, but powerful. Bookshelves filled with law books, framed degrees, awards on the wall. This was a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. "Have a seat," she said. I sat down, placed my purse on the table, and looked her straight in the eyes. "I'll get straight to the point," I said. "I'm here because my husband is having an affair." She nodded slightly. "All right. Start from the beginning." And I did. Everything. Voices. Evidence. The bank account. The money. The hotel. The text. The joint account with Brandon. I watched her carefully as I spoke. She didn't interrupt. Didn't react emotionally. Just listened. Took notes. Analyzed. When I finished, she leaned back slightly and folded her hands. "Do you have proof?" I didn't say a word. I just pulled out my phone and slid it across the desk. Photos, transactions, records, everything. She picked it up, scrolled, paused, then looked back at me. "Mrs. Parker." Her tone changed slightly. "You did very well." That was the first time I felt something close to satisfaction. Not happiness, not relief, but validation. "I've seen cases like this before," she continued, "but not many where the client walks in this prepared." "I don't like being blindsided," I replied calmly. She gave a small nod. "I can see that." She turned the phone back toward me. "Here's what we're dealing with," she said. "This is not just infidelity. This involves financial misconduct, hidden assets, and what appears to be intentional deception." I stayed quiet. Her talk. "Georgia is an equitable distribution state," she continued. "That means assets are divided fairly. Not necessarily equally." Her eyes locked onto mine. "But in cases involving cheating and misuse of marital funds," he paused slightly, "you can come out with significantly more." Now she had my full attention. "How much more?" I asked. "That depends on how far you want to take this." I didn't hesitate. "All the way." She nodded. "Good." She opened a folder and started writing. "First, do not confront your husband." "I won't." "Good. Let him keep thinking everything is normal. That gives us time." "That's the plan." "Second, we gather more evidence. Financial records, communication patterns, anything that strengthens your case." "I've already started." "I can see that," she said, almost impressed. "Third." She leaned forward slightly. "We freeze him out legally before he even realizes what's happening." I tilted my head slightly. "Explain." "We file strategically," she said. "We secure your assets, protect your inheritance, and make sure he has no chance to move or hide anything else." My jaw tightened just a little. "He's already been moving money." "I know," she replied calmly. "Which is why we move faster." I took a slow breath. This was exactly what I needed. Control. Direction. Power. "What about the joint account with Brandon?" I asked. Her expression hardened slightly. "That is going to hurt him." "How?" "Because it shows intent," she said. "It shows coordination. It shows that this wasn't just emotional. It was financial." I paused. "And judges don't like that." For the first time, I allowed myself a small, cold smile. "But now," she continued, "I need to ask you something important." He nodded. "Does your daughter know?" There it was. The question I'd been avoiding. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "But I'm going to find out." She studied my face for a second, then nodded. "Be careful with that." "I will. Because if she doesn't know, this will destroy her." I looked down for a moment. Just a second. Because that was the only part of this that still hurt in a different way. "My daughter," I said quietly, "will get the truth." I looked back up. "No matter what." Catherine nodded slowly. "All right." She closed the folder. "Then we move forward." I stood up. "So what's next?" She walked around the desk and handed me a document. Retainer agreement. I didn't even read it fully. I just signed. 'Cause I already knew. This wasn't just a divorce. This was a reckoning. And I was ready. As I walked out of that office, something inside me felt solid again. Not fixed. Not healed. But strong. Stronger than I had been in years. 'Cause now, I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was in control. And Raymond, he had no idea what was coming. When I got back home, everything looked the same. Same house. Same furniture. Same man sitting on the couch like nothing in the world had changed. Raymond glanced up when I walked in. "Hey, baby. You get everything you needed." Baby. That word used to mean something. Now it just sounded fake. "Yeah," I said calmly, setting my purse down like it was any normal day. "Got everything." He nodded, eyes already back on the TV. That told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't worried. Not even a little. But that's exactly how I wanted it. I walked into the kitchen and started cooking dinner like I always did. Same routine. Same movements. Same quiet house. But inside I was calculating every single step. Every word. Every move. Because now, everything mattered. "You hear from Nicole today?" I asked casually, not even looking at him. Raymond paused for half a second. Just half. But I caught it. "Nah," he said. "Why?" "Just checking," I replied. "Haven't heard from her in a few days." That wasn't unusual. But right now, everything felt like a clue. He didn't say anything else. Just kept watching TV. Too normal. Too relaxed. That meant one thing. They weren't worried about getting caught. Which meant they were comfortable. And comfort makes people sloppy. Dinner was quiet. He ate like always. Complimented the food. Asked simple questions about my day. And I answered. Smiling when I needed to. Nodding when I needed to. Playing my role perfectly. 'Cause sometimes, the strongest move you can make is pretending you don't see anything. That night I went to bed early. Not because I was tired, but because I needed him to think I was. Around 11:30 p.m. I heard it. His phone vibrating. Quick. He picked it up almost instantly. Too fast. Like he was expecting it. I kept my breathing steady. Eyes closed. Pretending to sleep. A few seconds passed. And he got up. Quietly. Tried not to wake me. But I was already awake. I heard his footsteps leaving the room. Heading downstairs. Waited. Counted slowly in my head. 30 seconds. Then I got up. Silent. Careful. And followed. I stopped halfway down the stairs. Just enough to hear. His voice was low. Almost a whisper. "Yeah, she's asleep." "I told you we're good." Soft laugh. "No, tomorrow's better." Tomorrow again. Always tomorrow. I gripped the railing tighter. My heart was pounding. But my face stayed calm. I didn't go down. I didn't interrupt. Because I didn't need to. I had already heard enough. I went back upstairs quietly. Slipped back into bed, and closed my eyes. And for the first time, I wasn't hurt. I was ready. The next morning I woke up before him. 5:30 a.m. Like always, routine never changes. I made his coffee. Set it on the table. Same way I had done for decades. But this time, I watched him. Studied him. Every movement. Every expression. Trying to see the man I thought I knew. But he wasn't there anymore. That man. He was gone. Replaced by someone I didn't recognize. "I'm heading out later," he said casually. "Got some things to take care of." "Yeah?" asked, pouring my own coffee. "Yeah, might be out most of the day." He nodded. "All right." Simple. Normal. Easy. But inside, I already knew where he was going. And this time, I wasn't going to just sit and wait. I might go see Diane again, I added. Okay, he said, not even thinking twice. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. After he left, I didn't wait. I grabbed my keys, got in my car and followed. Not too close, not too obvious, just enough to keep him in sight. My hands were steady on the wheel. My eyes locked on his truck. This wasn't fear anymore. This was confirmation. He drove for about 20 minutes, turned off the main road, and pulled into a parking lot. I slowed down, stayed back, watched. And then I saw it. Brandon's truck. Already there. Course. I parked a little further away. Just enough to see without being seen. And then, Raymond stepped out of his truck. Looked around casually. Relaxed. Comfortable. Like this was routine. 'Cause it was. A few seconds later, Brandon came out to meet him. And right there, in broad daylight, they smiled at each other. Like nothing was wrong. Like this wasn't betrayal. Like this wasn't destroying an entire family. And then, they walked inside together. Like it was normal. Like it was planned. Like it was theirs. I sat in my car, watching that door close behind them. And I felt it again. That cold, steady feeling. Not pain. Not anger. Just clarity. 'Cause now, I didn't just have proof. I had timing, patterns, routine. And that was power. I reached for my phone. Took a picture of both trucks parked side by side. Saved it. Documented it. Everything. Because every detail mattered now. Every move counted. I leaned back in my seat, eyes still on that building, and whispered to myself, keep going. Because this wasn't over. Not even close. I sat in that parking lot longer than I probably should have. Just staring at that door they walked through. Waiting. Watching. Thinking. My phone was still in my hand. The picture of their truck sitting right there on the screen. Proof. Another piece to add to everything I already had. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because now I needed more than just suspicion. More than just patterns. I needed something undeniable. Something that would make it impossible for them to lie their way out of this. I stepped out of my car slowly, keeping my distance, adjusting my sunglasses like I was just another person going about my day. Normal. Invisible. That's what I needed to be right now. I walked toward the building, calm on the outside. But every step felt heavy with purpose. The sign above the door told me everything. It wasn't a restaurant. It wasn't an office. It was a hotel. Not the kind you take your wife to. The kind you hide in. I pushed the door open and walked inside. The air smelled like cheap perfume and cleaning supplies. Quiet. Too quiet. A man sat behind the front desk. Barely looked up. But less attention. More freedom. I walked past like I knew exactly where I was going. Like I'd been there before. Confidence is everything in moments like this. If you act like you belong, nobody questions you. I moved down the hallway slowly. Listening, watching. Doors closed. Silence. And I saw it. Room 547. The number burned into my mind instantly. 'Cause I had seen it before. That key card. The one I found in Raymond's car. This wasn't random. This was their place. Their routine. Their secret. My heart started beating faster. But I forced myself to stay steady. I stepped closer. Just enough to hear. First, nothing. And voices. Muffled. But clear enough. Raymond. Brandon. Together. Laughing. Talking. Like this was normal. Like I didn't exist. My hand slowly lifted, hovering near the door. For a second. Just 1 second. I thought about knocking. About ending it right there. Catching them in the act. Forcing the truth out into the open. But then, stop. Because that would be emotional. And emotional people make mistakes. And I wasn't making mistakes anymore. I stepped back. slowly, quietly, and pulled out my phone. I took a picture of the door, number, the hallway, everything, proof. Then I walked away. Just like that. No scene. No drama. No confrontation. Because I wasn't here to react. I was here to win. Back in my car. I sat there for a moment. Hands resting on the steering wheel. Eyes staring straight ahead. My chest felt tight, but not from pain. From control. 'Cause now, there was no doubt left. No missing pieces. No confusion. Just truth. Clear. Cold. Final. I started the engine. But I didn't drive off right away. Instead, I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Catherine. She answered on the second ring. Mrs. Parker. I have more, I said calmly. Go ahead. I followed him. Pause. Where? A hotel. Another pause. Did you get anything? Yes. What kind of proof? Photos. Location. Room number. Timeline. Silence for a second. Then her voice came back. Sharper this time. Good. That one word told me everything. You're doing exactly what you need to do, she continued. Keep documenting. Don't engage. I won't. Bring everything to me. We're building a very strong case. I know. I ended the call. Set the phone down. And finally pulled out of the parking lot. But I didn't go home. Not yet. Instead, I drove somewhere else. Somewhere I hadn't been in a while. Nicole's place. The drive felt longer than usual. Heavier. Because this wasn't just about my husband anymore. This was about my daughter. My baby. The one I raised. The one I protected. The one I sacrificed everything for. And now, I needed to know the truth. Was she blind to all of this? Or was she part of it? I pulled up outside her townhouse. Engine still running, hands gripping the wheel. My heart was beating again. Yes, this time not from anger. Not from strategy. But from fear. Because whatever I found out here, it was going to change everything. I stepped out of the car, walked up to her door, and knocked. Once. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened. Nicole stood there. And the moment our eyes met, he knew. Something was wrong. Not just stress. Not just distance. Something deeper. Something she wasn't saying. Mom, she said, surprised. What are you doing here? I looked at her for a long second. Studying her face. Searching for the truth. And then I smiled. Controlled. I just wanted to see my daughter. 'Cause right now, I wasn't here to accuse. I was here to find out. Nicole stepped aside and let me in. But something about the way she did it felt off. Too quick. Too nervous. Like she didn't have time to think. That alone told me more than her words ever could. Her place looked clean. Organized. Almost too perfect. Like someone was trying hard to keep things together. Everything okay? She asked, closing the door behind me. I turned slowly, taking in the room, the silence, the tension hanging in the air. Yeah, I said gently. Just thought I'd stop by. She nodded, but didn't say much else. That wasn't like her. Nicole had always been talkative, always full of little stories. Random things about her day. But today, quiet, careful, guarded. I walked further inside, running my fingers lightly across the back of the couch, noticing the small details. Half-empty coffee mug, a blanket folded too neatly. And then, I saw it, on the table, an envelope, my name on it, Evelyn. My heart skipped. What's this? I asked, picking it up. Nicole froze. Just for a second. But I saw it. Nothing, she said quickly. Just something I was going to give you. I looked at her. Really looked this time. Eyes. They weren't calm. They weren't neutral. They were heavy. Like she'd been carrying something for a long time. I slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a check. $3,000. My breath caught. Same amount. Same number. The one I had sent her months ago. I looked up at her. What is this, Nicole? Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to speak, but couldn't. I was going to return it, she said quietly. Why? Silence. Uncomfortable. Nicole, I said, my voice still calm but firmer now. Look at me. She did. And I saw it. Guilt. Not confusion. Not innocence. Guilt. I didn't use it, she said quickly. I swear, Mom, I didn't. Then who did? That question hit her hard. Could see it. The way her shoulders dropped. The way her eyes filled slightly. But she held it back. Brandon, she whispered. There it was. The truth, starting to come out. What did he need it for? Yes. She shook her head slowly. He said it was for his business. Something urgent. And you believed him. She didn't answer. 'Cause she already knew. I found out later, she continued, her voice cracking slightly, that it wasn't for any business. I stayed quiet. Let her speak. 'Cause now, this wasn't about me talking. This was about her finally telling the truth. He's been distant, she said. For months. My chest tightened just a little. Coming home late. Always on his phone. Always distracted. I closed my eyes for a second. 'Cause I had heard this story before. I had lived this story. And then, she continued softly, I saw something. My eyes opened again. What? She hesitated. Took a breath. Messages. My heart started beating slower. Heavier. What kind of messages? Her voice dropped even lower. Not a normal ones. She looked down at her hands. They weren't with another woman. There it was. The moment. The truth I had been preparing for. The truth I had feared. And expected at the same time. I stepped closer to her. Nicole. She looked up. It's full now. He wouldn't let me see everything, she said. But I saw enough. My voice stayed steady. Did you see who it was? She nodded slowly. And then said the one word that confirmed everything. Dad. Silence. Complete. Heavy. Unavoidable. My own daughter. Standing in front of me. Confirming what I had already seen, already heard. Already proven. But hearing it from her. That hit different. That made it real in a way nothing else could. How long have you known? I asked quietly. A few weeks, she said. Not everything, but enough to know something was wrong. And you didn't tell me. That question came out softer than I expected. Not angry. Just hurt. I didn't know how, she said quickly. I didn't want to believe it. I kept thinking maybe I was wrong. Maybe I misunderstood. Tears slipped down her cheeks now. I didn't want to break you. That broke something inside me. Just a little. Because in her own way, she was still my daughter. Still trying to protect me. Even when everything around us was falling apart. I stepped forward and pulled her into a hug. She collapsed into me immediately. Like she'd been holding it all in for too long. I'm sorry, Mom, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I closed my eyes. Holding her tight. It's not your fault, I said quietly. And for once, that was the truth. Because this wasn't on her. This was on them. The two men who were supposed to protect this family. And instead chose to destroy it. After a few moments, I pulled back slightly and looked at her. I need you to listen to me, I said. She nodded quickly. I know everything now. Her eyes widened. Everything. Everything. The money. The account. The hotel. The lies. All of it. And I'm handling it, I added. She stared at me, trying to understand. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not going to let them get away with this. Something in my voice made her straighten up, made her see me differently. Not just as her mother, but as someone else, someone stronger. "What are you going to do?" she asked softly. I held her gaze. "Finish it." Simple, clear, final. And for the first time, I saw something in her eyes. Not fear, not confusion, but relief. 'Cause now, she wasn't alone in this anymore. Nicole sat down slowly, like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. And I sat across from her, watching her, studying every little movement. 'Cause now, everything mattered. "Does he know you know?" Yes. She shook her head quickly. "No." "Good." She looked at me confused. "Good." "Yes," I said calmly. "Because we're going to keep it that way." Her eyebrows pulled together. "Mom, what are you planning?" I leaned forward slightly, my voice steady, controlled. "I'm ending this." Tears filled her eyes again. "I already knew that." "No," I said quietly. "Not just the marriage." She froze. "What do you mean?" "I mean everything." Silence. Heavy. She stared at me like she was trying to understand what I wasn't saying out loud. "I've already hired a lawyer," I continued. "I have evidence, financial records, proof of the affair, proof of the money." Her lips parted slightly. You really went that far." I held her gaze. "They went further." That shut her up instantly, because she knew it was true. "What about me?" she asked softly. That question, that one carried so much pain, so much uncertainty. I softened just a little. "You're my daughter," I said. "That doesn't change." Her shoulders dropped slightly, like she had been holding that fear in. "But," I added. She looked back up. "You need to decide where you stand." Her eyes widened. "Mom, I'm serious, Nicole," I said firmly. "I'm not dragging you into this, but I'm not protecting them either." Tears rolled down her cheeks again. "I'm not with them," she said quickly. "I swear, I'm not part of this." "I know," I said. And I meant it. 'Cause I could see it now. The confusion, the hurt, the betrayal. She was going through the same thing I was, just in a different way. "I just didn't know how to tell you," she whispered. "You don't have to explain anymore," I said softly. "I already understand." She nodded slowly, wiping her tears. "So what happens now?" I took a slow breath. Now came the part that mattered. "The next few days," I said. "You act normal." Her face tensed. "Normal?" "Yes. You don't confront Brandon. You don't argue. You don't change your behavior." "That's going to be hard." "I know," I said. "But we need them comfortable." "Why?" "Because comfortable people don't hide." She went quiet, thinking, processing. "And when they don't hide," I continued, "they make mistakes." Her eyes slowly lifted back to mine. "And that's when we catch everything." She swallowed. "Everything. Everything." Silence filled the room again. But this time it felt different. Less fear. More focus. "Mom," she said carefully, "what if they find out?" I shook my head. "They won't." "How can you be sure?" "Because they're not careful," I said. "They're confident." Pause. "And confident people get caught." She let out a slow breath. "I hate this." "I know. I hate him," she whispered. I didn't respond right away. 'Cause hate is dangerous. Makes people act too fast. Too emotional. And we couldn't afford that. "Don't hate him yet," I said finally. She looked at me confused. "Why not?" "Because we're not done." That answer sat heavy between us. 'Cause she understood what I meant. This wasn't over. Not even close. I stood up slowly. "I need to go." She stood up too. "Already?" "Yes. There's still so much to talk about." And we will, I said gently. But not today. Right now. We had a plan. And plans require discipline. I walked toward the door. But before I opened it, I turned back to her. One more thing. She nodded. If Brandon asks anything, if he acts strange, if you notice anything at all, I call you, she said immediately. Exactly. She hesitated for a second, then stepped forward and hugged me again. Tighter this time. Stronger. Like she was holding on to something solid. And maybe she was. Be careful, she whispered. I pulled back slightly, looked her in the eyes, and gave a small, calm nod. I always am. Then I walked out. The drive home felt different. Everything felt different. 'Cause now, it wasn't just me anymore. Now I had clarity. Now I had truth. Now I had my daughter on my side. And most importantly, now I had timing. When I pulled into the driveway, Raymond's truck was already there. Course, routine never changes. I stepped out of the car, grabbed my purse, and walked inside. He was in the kitchen this time, making coffee, like he had any right to stand there like nothing was wrong. How was Diane's? He asked casually. I set my purse down, looked at him, and smiled. It was good. Simple. Clean. Easy. He nodded, took a sip of his coffee. Good. We stood there for a second, just existing in the same space, but living in two completely different realities. You heading out again tomorrow? Asked casually. He hesitated, just for a second. Yeah, probably. Busy man, I said with a light smile. He chuckled. Something like that. I nodded slowly. All right. And just like that, the game continued. But this time, I wasn't reacting anymore. I was setting the board. And they were walking right into it. The next few days, everything felt quiet on the surface. Too quiet. Like the calm before something breaks. Raymond followed his routine like nothing had changed. Same coffee. Same TV. Same little lies about where he was going and what he was doing. And every time, smiled. He nodded. I let him think he was in control. But behind the scenes, everything was moving. Yes. Catherine had already filed the paperwork. Quietly. Strategically. Every asset documented. Every account flagged. Every move calculated. By the time Raymond would find out, it would already be too late. Nicole was doing her part too. Acting normal. Watching Brandon. Paying attention to every detail. And just like I said, comfort made him careless. 2 days later she called me. Her voice was low. He's meeting Dad again. My grip tightened around the phone. When? Today. Same place. I closed my eyes for a second. Same place. Same estate. All right, I said calmly. Do nothing. I'll handle it. This time, I wasn't just going to watch. I got in my car, drove straight to that hotel, and parked further back than before. My heart wasn't racing anymore. No fear. No hesitation. Just focus. I watched as Raymond's truck pulled in. Then Brandon's. Same routine. Same confidence. They stepped out, smiled at each other, and walked inside like the world belonged to them. But this time, followed. Not halfway. Not just to the hallway. All the way. I walked straight to the front desk. The same man was there. Half asleep. Uninterested. Perfect. I need a key to 547, I said calmly. He barely looked up. Name. I didn't hesitate. Raymond Parker. He typed for a second, then handed me the key. Just like that. No questions. No suspicion. And in that moment, I realized something. They had been doing this for so long. Even the hotel thought it was normal. I took the key, walked down that hallway, and stopped in front of the door. The same number. The same place. But this time, I wasn't there to listen. I wasn't there to gather. I was there to end it. I took a slow breath and opened the door. What I saw inside was exactly what I expected. And somehow, still worse, they both turned at the same time. Shock hit their faces instantly. Pure, unfiltered, real. Evelyn, Raymond started. I held up my hand. No. My voice was calm. Calm. That's what scared them the most. Brandon stepped back slightly. Like he didn't know where to stand. Like he didn't know what to do. But they shouldn't. 'Cause for once, they weren't in control anymore. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, and looked at both of them. My husband, my son-in-law, standing there like everything they had done was about to be explained away. You don't need to say anything, I said quietly. Raymond tried anyway. This isn't what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. For the first time in days. Don't insult me, I said, my voice still steady. Not after everything. Silence. They didn't know what to say. Because there was nothing to say. I know about the money, I continued. Raymond's face dropped. I know about the account. Brandon looked down. I know about the hotels, the texts, all of it. Now they were both silent, frozen. I even know about tomorrow, I added. That hit them hard, because now they understood. This wasn't a surprise visit. This was the end of their illusion. Raymond swallowed hard. Evelyn, please, we can talk about this. I stepped closer. No, I said calmly. We're past talking. I reached into my purse, pulled out the folder, and dropped it on the table in front of them. Documents, printouts, proof. All of this is already with my lawyer. That's when the panic hit. Real panic. You what? Raymond said, his voice shaking now. I filed. Silence. Complete. Total. Final. Brandon looked at Raymond like he was waiting for him to fix it. But there was nothing to fix. You think this is just about cheating? Continued. My voice wasn't loud, but it carried weight. This is about betrayal, financial fraud, deception. Paused, letting every word sink in. You didn't just break my trust. I looked at both of them. You tried to play me. And that was their biggest mistake. Raymond stepped forward slightly. Evelyn, please. We can work this out. I shook my head slowly. No. One word. Final. I gave you 38 years, I said quietly. You don't get another second. His shoulders dropped, like something inside him finally broke. But it was too late. Way too late. I turned toward the door, then stopped. One last thing. Without looking back, I said. Oh, and one more thing. They both stayed silent, waiting. Everything you tried to hide. Open the door. I already took it back. And with that, I walked out. Just like that. No tears. No yelling. No breaking down. Because I wasn't the one who lost everything. They were. A few weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Faster than either of them expected. Catherine didn't miss a step. Assets secured. Counts frozen. Every dollar accounted for. Raymond lost more than he ever imagined. And Brandon. Nicole left him. Packed her things. Walked away. And never looked back. We didn't talk about it much after that. We didn't need to. Some things. You just survive. Months later, I was sitting on my porch, coffee in hand, watching the sun come up, peaceful, quiet, green. For the first time in a long time, felt free. Not because everything was perfect, but because everything was honest. And that's worth everything. I took a slow sip of my coffee, smiled to myself, and whispered, I won. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. For more stories like this, check out our channel and watch other videos. Visit our channel for more exclusive content and updates.